Ladies and gentlemen, I am Walker Stewart, accompanied by my cohort, none other than James Southard. James, how you doing today, buddy? We're talking about world class tonight.
It is always a good day when we get to talk about some world-class wrestling. For the first time, our first show we get to review, we introduced ourselves, we gave a little world-class history last time we were here. But now it's time, we're jumping back in the time machine, and we are headed to 1981, February 22nd, to be specific, in Reunion Arena in downtown Dallas, Texas. It is time for Star Wars.
WCCW Star Wars is on lock. But here's the thing, James. We have some other things coming up that we want to talk to you all about. We have the podcast that you're listening to right now. You might be listening to this podcast on a multitude of platforms. You might be listening on Apple Podcasts.
What?
Google Podcasts.
What?
Spotify.
What?
Stitcher.
What?
Podchaser.
What?
TuneIn.
What?
iHeartRadio. What? Pandora.
Okay.
You might be listening on a multitude of these platforms, and on all of these platforms, you will find a podcast review section. It might be out of 100. It might be out of 10. It might be out of 5 stars. In fact, if it is out of 5 stars, like Apple Podcasts, like Spotify, you could rate us a 1-star rating.
No. How about this? I'll make the people an offer. I'm
Okay.
feeling generous, Walker.
Oh my gosh.
How about this? Say whatever you want about us in your review. You can talk if the show sucks, if we're garbage, tell us.
Wow.
Tell us we're god awful. And then, but as long as you rate 5 stars, 100, 10, whatever the scale is, if you rank that, write whatever you want in the comments, and we will still read your. We will read your review as long as it's ranked 5 stars. You want to rank us 1 star and then tell us how great we are, we ain't going to read it.
Wow, that's phenomenal. What an offer from Diamond Jim here tonight.
I am a generous and benevolent man.
I'm figuring that out slowly but surely. It's not very generous for you to force me to sit through this god-awful show we have to talk about here today in WCCW Star Wars 1981. I got to tell you, James, I went in with very high expectations. Everyone's always talking, it's the Von Erichs, the Sportatorium.
All right, when I said world-class championship wrestling is going to be good, I didn't say 1981 was the highlight year, all right? It's a little rough.
Oh, my gosh.
But, hey, there were some good things on this card. It wasn't as bad as you make it out to be. It's not Heroes of Wrestling.
Heroes of Wrestling.
It could always be worse.
It
was a decent show. It was a good show.
You want to play 21?
I got 22.
Got 22. I have 20. I watched a show
And
for
I got a
22
snake in my
minutes. Too long. Snake in your pants. What? All right, we got WCCW Star Wars 1981, one of 2 shows that we are reviewing from the year of 1981 on the last episode that we did. We talked about a couple of different things, like some of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards, like Ric Flair, and how we won't even see Ric Flair in the freaking company for another 2 years. But, we're just going to dive right into it, so follow us along at home. We're going to talk about this card and run it down. Our ring announcer for tonight, of course, none other than the legendary Bill Mercer. Our commentator for tonight, we don't know.
We never gotten on camera. This is an era of world class that I'll honestly admit I'm not as familiar with. I'm a Bill Mercer guy, but Bill was at the ring this time, and we had a commentator who didn't seem quite sure of what was going on most of the night.
Well, and that's not to say he did a bad job, though.
No,
I think from 2 commentators' perspectives, I can say, honestly, that I enjoyed it. And he Joey Styles'd it in the booth tonight, pre-Joey Styles era, where he was on the one man, didn't even have a guest commentator for any of the matches. Completely fine. I mean, there was nothing to write home about, but maybe I was also, some of these guys I'm seeing for the first time. I've heard of guys like the Great Kabuki, never had gotten to see a Great Kabuki match. I've heard of guys like Fritz Von Erich, never really watched a full match of his, you know what I mean? And
when
so
Kabuki blow the mist, brother, shit hit the fan.
we found out what hit the fan in this show. We kick off the show here tonight with Mil Mascaras, or as this unnamed commentator refers to him as, Mil Mascaras is here. I can tell. You know, Mexico's only like, it's not super far compared to like New York.
You know what I mean? Like 500-700 miles south. Not too far from the border here. But
I'm just saying, you couldn't accent that one at all. Mil Mascaras. You know, I couldn't get any of that on this card. And what's funny is I don't know if someone was in his ear or anything like that. I don't know if we had that technology back in this time, but he eventually corrects himself halfway through the match and then just starts switching it.
Yeah, at some point he just starts going back and forth referring to Mascaras and Mascaras, and it was kind of amusing as a commentator to hear that, but it was a good opening match. I mean,
it was like Vince McMahon on commentary talking about the Beverly Brothers, but he didn't know the difference between the Beverly Brothers, so he's just calling them Beverly. Hey, I can't say I've never done that in a show before, I'll tell you that much. But at the very least, at least I was getting the last name correct. You know what I'm saying? It was something. But hey. We don't even get like an intro package to this. We no VTR, nothing. Not even a cut to the commentator. We just get cold open on Mil Mascaras' entrance, and that's all I can call him anymore, James. I don't know who this man is.
You have been ruined. He is Mil Mascaras.
This isn't Mil Mascaras.
If he's working in Mexico, he is Mil Mascaras. If he's working in World Class or Houston, he is Mil Mascaras.
Yeah, bro, they Americanized his name. I don't know what's going on there. Mil Mascaras took on none other than Killer Tim Brooks. I gave my one Tim Brooks story on the last episode of the podcast, so if you missed that, make sure you go check that out. Get a whole history lesson there.
The suspicious double wrestling trainer being shot in drug.
Are you doubting my stories?
I'm not doubting. It's just there's some clarifications that need to be made. Maybe they can go check out the Blade Job Wrestling podcast and hear the story from Toxic Trent himself. But anyways, back to the topic at hand here. Killer Tim Brooks. What more can I say? It was a great opening match. Mil Mascaras, of course, the clear-cut good guy here, and Killer Tim Brooks using the dirty underhand tactics to take over, using closed hand punches, and which Mil eventually got back. You know, classic tit-for-tat trading.
Yeah, so we opened the match here tonight with the most lovely Greco-Roman knuckle lock exchange, which they held in for a good while. It was not like lock up, one guy goes down to the knees, overpower into the bridge, nothing like that. Like, they did the bridge spot and everything. It was great. No way in hell Killer Tim Brooks was bridging tonight, brother, because he just falls right on his back, transitions out of it, but keeps the fingers locked. It was really good. A lot of more technical stuff out of Brooks than I expected to see here tonight. I don't know if it was being partnered up with Mascaras that caused that.
He was a more technical guy at the start of his career and slowly adapted into Killer Tim Brooks with the long, shaggy hair and beard and brawling style that he would become known for in Texas. But definitely had a solid background and got to put it on display with Mil.
Well, we don't know how many people are packed into this arena here tonight, the Reunion Arena in Dallas, Texas. What we do know is this announcer, I don't even know if I can trust his credibility because we don't even know his name. There are thousands on hand here tonight. They zoom out the hard cam shot. You can tell. It's very obvious that there are a lot of people. There are no camera tricks. I'm a producer. There are no camera tricks that will put that many people in seats, man.
He later goes on to call it the largest attendance recorded there. I'm sure they'd go on to break that several more times during the Fritz Von Erich feud. But definitely a great crowd on hand at Reunion Arena, and a great setup with just the singular old-school Jumbotron right over the ring. A phenomenal look.
Yeah, 100%. Here's the thing, though. We had the announcer kind of got a little jumbled because he started just talking like he had no clue what was happening on this show. This dude was not handed a run sheet. This dude had no one in his ear to tell him what was happening. He knew. I mean, hey, we've worked shows like that, but come on, man, it was something. Said something along the lines of like, well, I'm sure this is going to be one of the better matches we see here tonight. I was like, wait, way to bury every other match on the card. That's phenomenal. We have the NWA Rules spot. I can't believe it. Our first NWA Rules spot in the very first match. Mascaras whips Brooks into the turnbuckle. Brooks springboards over the top and falls to the outside, tries to tell referee David Manning that Mascaras tossed him over, and the match continued despite this.
Yeah, David Manning had none of it. He said, Mascaras whipped you in, you jumped over the ropes, brought him back to inside. Match continued on. Again, the first time we'd see the spot tonight, but not the last.
Well, that's true. Who is the agent for this damn match, James? I don't know what's going on. Do we have any rules here in the NWA big time world class wrestling?
I've never heard that said in my life before. I've never heard that statement at a wrestling.
No, I've never heard that. The announcer keeps putting over the fact that referee David Manning is feuding with Tim Brooks.
Nothing like a referee wrestler feud.
While Manning is currently wrestling one of the top luchas in, I don't know if he was at that point in this time or...
Killer Tim Brooks is wrestling Mil Mascaras.
Yes. What did I say?
You said Manning was wrestling.
Oh, yeah. No, David Manning was supposed to. Now, I'd pay money to see that, brother. I don't care what you say. David Manning is apparently the most over guy on this show. He's on the show the most out of anyone compared to any other wrestler, and he had the most announcer credibility thrown his way.
He couldn't be in the office, could he?
No, there's no way David Manning was in the office. After that, of course, a phenomenal quote from our announcer on Tim Brooks. Better places to spend his money than on his clothes, I guess.
Well, Killer Tim Brooks was a rough and tumble guy, not the flashy gold-looking gear as described.
Was he hitting the bars? What was going on down there in the Sportatorium?
Cheers, Killer Tim Brooks. I might have made a visit to the Sportatorium, and there's a sign for Ed's Liquor just down the road. I have a feeling there might have been a few visits there for Killer Tim Brooks, but nonetheless.
This does not shock me. We get some pretty rough-looking punches with Mascaras and Brooks both throwing, I don't even want to say potatoes. It was just like, some of them were like, whoa, and then others looked like they didn't even connect at all, or at the very least, they were pulled pretty heavily. In what was the biggest pop, other than the finish, I guess this does lead kind of into the finish, I don't know if Brooks was putting people away with leg drop brothers at the time, but Brooks goes for this leg drop. Mascaras gets out of the way. Huge pop. Arena erupts. I was like, what? Like this, you got to keep in mind, I started watching wrestling in 2010. I went back and watched some Attitude Era stuff. I've seen some of those more classic matches like, Steamboat going in there and Savage. And I've seen all these guys, and but I've never seen someone pop for a spot so simple.
In the opening match.
No, in the opening match, this wasn't even the main. Yep. It's not like either of these guys were incapable of bumping or anything like that. So I thought that was crazy. Brooks, of course, misses this leg drop. Mascaras to the top flying crossbody off the top rope into the pinning combination for the win in 9 minutes and 55 seconds. James, what do you think?
It was a solid opener. As I said, you had a good guy, you had a bad guy. They did some great technical wrestling on the mat. The marquee says wrestling. What more do you want out of your first match? They told a great story. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5 stars. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good time as any to tell you about our new star rating system. You've heard of your Dave Meltzers. You've heard of your Brian Alvarez's. And we're better.
And we got to get our shit in, too.
Of course we do. So, we're just two white dudes with a podcast, just like every other podcast on the blessed earth. So, of course, you need to hear our opinions. That's why you're listening right now. Of course.
You're going to get a fucking spit take out of me here eventually.
It's phenomenal. Drink your cherry Pepsi and shut the hell up. This was a 1-star match, brother. I had no interest in this.
Oh, it didn't have flips. It was an Omega Okada.
I didn't even see one Canadian destroyer here, James.
Oh, yeah. Let's say you want to see Ricky Morton, 63 years old, hitting Canadian destroyers. Would that make you happy?
Yeah, actually, it was a pretty damn good Canadian destroyer.
It makes me pretty happy, too.
Oh my God. I didn't see any light tubes. I saw no barbed wire. Nobody died for shoot ski. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why we were having pro wrestling back in the 80s.
Get you and your garbage wrestling and get out of here. I don't want to hear any of it. We're going to watch some good old-fashioned wrestling, and you're going to like it.
I am the internet wrestling community. It is me embodied. No, I mean...
How many episodes until I start throwing things at it?
Start choking me. We have to. That's for the video edition, baby. That's the Patreon content right there. One day we will have a Patreon, and it will stop being that's Patreon content jokes. But anyway...
No, it will still be that Patreon content jokes, and that's just going to be the
advertisement.
advertisement.
They'll be real. It'll be awesome. 1-star match. I just it was fine. It did the job. But man, you know who else did the job? It was Killer Tim Brooks, and it was a decent match. But I don't know if I'd put it higher than 1 star. So that's my take.
Good on you.
Good on me.
Good on you, boy.
All right, well, next up, we have Fritz Von Erich versus the Great Kabuki. Not even a single... It's just weird watching wrestling without, promo packages in between matches. I'm not used to it, so that's kind of entertaining, to say the least. There's also no roaming cam, throughout the entirety of the show. I'm sure that comes in later on down the line, right? Because WCCW, revolutionized wrestling production, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, Mickey Grant and the entire production team there, they had some of the first promo packages and ringside interviews, things like that would go on to be used by just about every wrestling company, and most of that started in the early 80s with WCCW.
It's crazy to think, the thing that I am making my living off of right now in pro wrestling is what we're about to watch the evolution of. I got to tell y'all right now, none of that was here. Okay, that was just not the case. One hard cam, we zoom it in, we zoom it out.
You might get a little pan.
Yeah, no, it's like there's some indie promotions that shoot off iPhones. iPhone hard cam, baby, it works well. That iPhone 13 Pro, beautiful, retina display, beautiful camera, wild stuff. We weren't exactly dealing with that in 1981. So when Fritz Von Erich is making his way down to ringside, I am having trouble discerning between Fritz Von Erich and one of the fans, which we're going to talk about one of the fans in this match, by the way, because this man goes crazy. But Fritz Von Erich comes out, shirt on. This is kind of near the end of his career. He was winding down, right? Not exactly the most tip-top shape in the world, which he takes the shirt off and we later discovered to be true, right?
He's got that, Dick Murdoch beer belly, buggy whip arm, all kind of, that guy you wouldn't fight at the bar kind of thing. He doesn't look like a bodybuilder, but at the same time, I'm not going to mess with him.
Well, and it's funny because, those are some of my favorite guys on the scene, even in Oklahoma, even, all throughout, man. Guys with, I don't want to say guys with a beer gut, but, you have guys that are just big framed, and you're like, that's a dude that I would cross the street to avoid walking past on the sidewalk. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And it's the same thing, you get from guys like we mentioned in the last match with Killer Tim Brooks, and now with Fritz. There were those guys that just looked like they didn't look physically impressive, but they still looked like they would do some serious damage to you.
Exactly. So Fritz Von Erich comes out, starts doing the Tim Storm gimmick of making the entrance and signing every single thing in the audience. I've never seen this before. The fans being able to pass the guardrail or the barricade or whatever they had there, and just
the
hop
piece
up
of
to
rope
the ring.
that was very thinly draped around there. Yeah,
yeah, that's true. They hop up to the ring and they just start shoving stuff in Fritz's face, and Fritz is like, okay.
The world was a much different place in 1981.
Yeah, man. We can't do that anymore without the risk of not even the risk, just a social media threat being made towards someone's life. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And as we'd see later in this match, perhaps it's a tad bit for the better.
Yeah, no, that's true. So, of course, the Great Kabuki comes out with Gary Hart. I didn't know Gary Hart was managing the Great Kabuki in the U.S.
He was always managing the oddball characters. He was managing the Great Kabuki. He went on to manage the Great Muta. If there was someone odd, someone bizarre, somebody of dark, sinister origins, Gary Hart was your guy to go to explain. And we have Gary Hart to thank for the legendary green mist that we see Kabuki spraying. So Gary Hart, definitely a genius here. And
Well, it seems like they only like to set him up with Japanese people as well with the list of people you gave. But, yeah, I mean, he does a pretty good job here. He gets involved throughout the night. The announcer says that the reason this match is happening, we get actual backstory. Maybe I'll be interested in this match. We have some character work. We have some storytelling. There's psychology in wrestling, James. Fritz Von Erich is wrestling the Great Kabuki because Kabuki attacked David Von Erich during a television interview and knocked out a few teeth. I don't know if the announcer was speaking in hyperbole here or what, but, that's why this match is going on.
Apparently those who got the 2-hour local show got to bear witness to that, and that is what set up this big match here at Star Wars. And I just want to point out, Kabuki here, as he enters the ring, had a sword. So
Wait,
Drew,
what?
so Drew McIntyre, not the first to carry a sword.
Bro, gimmick
in wrestling.
infringement from Drew McIntyre?
From the Great Kabuki. Great Kabuki should be he should be hot. Gimmick infringement.
He should be. I want my paycheck, brother. Where's it at? Where's it at?
Royalties.
Royalties, baby. Yeah, he would do the whole Sting gimmick where it's like, just pay me $1, brother. Pay me $1. I'm gonna get rich eventually. That's called passive income right there, James. It's crazy.
Oh, but what a match these two had. Basically, the whole story of the match, Kabuki trying to use his martial arts abilities to kick and stay away from Fritz while Fritz is just trying to get his hands on him and apply the dreaded claw. Then he finally gets his hands on Kabuki. He manages to apply the claw to the stomach. He tries to apply it to the shoulder. And when he finally gets it on the head, the Great Kabuki is in danger. They work back to the corner, and this is when a fan decides to just jump on Gary Hart at ringside.
That was crazy. This dude said, "Oh, bro, I got you, Fritz," and came out and. Yeah, he tries to deck Gary Hart. Gary Hart sells it.
He almost starts swinging or went to the Gary Hart problem solver, the straight razor all taped up. And he manages to collect himself. Dallas PD does their job, gets the guy back. He collects himself and just calmly grabs Fritz's ankle and starts interfering and getting more heat.
Nothing affected Gary Hart in
Gary
this matchup.
Hart gives 0 fucks.
So, of course, we get the Gary Hart interference spot. Gary Hart grabs the leg of Fritz Von Erich. David Manning with the most unnecessary Randy Orton-style punt kick to Gary Hart to try and break up this altercation.
He backs up. He walks backwards on the apron and winds up and just soccer punts Gary Hart in the ribs to break this up. And then right after that, David Von Erich hits the ring, and then you'd think it'd be a DQ. David Manning, after seeing Gary Hart interfere, decides, referee's discretion here, to, I guess, allow some counter interference.
Yeah.
David hits a big drop kick on the Great Kabuki, allowing Fritz Von Erich to pick up the win.
In 10 minutes and 14 seconds, Kabuki does the Austin Aries sell from the Johnny Munda or Johnny Impact match, the Impact title match.
Let's go
about.
more recently. It's like Natalia and Sacramento.
Oh, yeah, okay. The live event spot that was caught on garbage iPhone camera. I like it. Vertical cam, baby. That's
you were
my
talking
stuff.
about iPhone 13. This was like iPhone 4.
No, this was, it was potato footage, baby. Potato footage. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's basic storytelling. As you mentioned, this was the end of Fritz's career. He'd be wrapping things up, I believe, at the end of this year or next year, 81 or 82. So, it wasn't prime Fritz, but at the same time, they told a great story. Kabuki's got a style that allows him to stay away from Fritz. Fritz just needs to get his hands on him and put that claw on his head, and it's all over. And Gary Hart's trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, I give an automatic added half star for the line from the announcer about Gary Hart, who said, quote, "If you don't know anything about Gary Hart, you might assume that he's a lawyer or a banker." because he's a dude in a suit.
He was a dapper dressed man.
Put a dude in a suit and he becomes a lawyer or a banker in 1981.
Yeah, and well spoken from south side of Chicago, you know.
I'm smoking this announcer pack, brother. This is crazy. I don't know who this announcer is, but he's on fire here tonight. What would you rate the star out of 5, Dave Meltzer?
I'd give it again a solid 3.
Okay, yeah. Well, this rating does go up to a 1.5 due to the added half star due to the announcer. This was fine. There was too much hot dogging and grandstanding for me, brother. And I understand like that part of it is, well, that's the 80s. The other part of it is, well, Fritz was winding down. I get it. I'm just dealing with the cards that were dealt to me. Or I'm playing with the cards that were dealt to me. I'm redealing the cards. Right?
If we start doing a 205 live review or something,
5 stars, 5 stars.
It's going to be a complete reversal. You're going to be just going off about these matches, and I'm going to be sitting here and going, all right.
Well, Tope Suicida. Bro, are you telling me you don't remember the Heart versus Soul match? Buddy Murphy, Mustafa Ali. Who's that? Who it was? Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali. I don't even remember the match.
I remember Mario Connors. That's gonna pop like 2 people, and I'm really happy.
I do not know what that means.
Shout out to Bryson Scott.
Shout out to Bryson Scott. That's true. Yeah, no. Well, first off, I don't want to get off this topic of Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. Do you remember the spot where they were doing the whole? One of them screaming heart, the other one screaming soul. Like they're hit. Dude, you need to find this eventually. We're going to review that on the Patreon. Patreon content, baby. Chop to Cedric Alexander. He screams, heart. Chop to Mustafa Ali. He screams, soul. And they're doing this back and forth. That's called psychology, baby. Listen, all I'm saying is if you threw Jim Ross, current modern-day Jim Ross that does commentary for AEW, and every single night we hear, well, he's not grabbing the damn tag rope. I don't know. He's complaining about rules. This is a mud show outlaw.
God forbid there are rules in wrestling. We have sports. We have rules.
No, that's what I'm saying. Here's the thing. You have an entire disqualification waiting to happen in this match. Jim Ross would have had a seizure here tonight. I don't understand how David Manning, he's probably too focused on his feud with Killer Tim Brooks. I don't know how David Manning watches David Von Erich get in the ring and go, all right, strike, drop kick, literally points at his dad, goes, hey, brother, I got this for you. Fritz covers him. He just counts it. Stupid.
It's the Von Erichs in Dallas, man.
Stupid. I can't believe this. Well, we're not done with the Von Erichs.
1.5 stars because of the Gary Hart line.
Yeah, well, I might have rated it more if it wasn't for that ending. That ending took away from it for me, man. If the ref was down, if the ref had his back turned, I mean, it would be heelish, sure, but
Bronco
whatever.
You do the. How many ref spots can you do? They've already bumped the ref once.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We're doing it again, baby. All right, well, next we have Kerry Von Erich taking on none other than the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, Harley Race. This is not a match that I actually knew happened.
The greatest wrestler on God's green earth.
Well, referee Bronco Lubick here. What do you know about Bronco Lubick?
Bronco Lubitsch,
that guy. That guy. Well,
former wrestler turned referee, long-time referee in World Class. We'll basically be seeing him all throughout this run.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be
great.
fun.
A great Bronco Lubitsch story Jim Cornette tells. By the time they got there in 84 or 85, Bronco was quite a bit older and was having a hard time getting down to make the counts.
Mm-hmm.
So in these smaller town shows, he would merely stand next to the rope and stomp his foot and make the count so he wouldn't have to get down to slap the mat.
Well, hey, that's called problem solving. I don't know what you're talking about.
Modern problems require modern solutions, so, I can't shame the guy.
Yeah.
But it's just a fascinating... I'd love to see some, small gym in Texas. And here's a 65-year-old referee just stomping his foot to make the count.
He's tuning up the band. What's he doing? What's going on here? The Heartbreak Kid, Bronco Lubitsch.
That's where Shawn Michaels got the idea, watching Bronco count.
Bro went to a show in Texas and said, man, that'd be cool. I just need a finish for that. I could stomp, bro. It'd be
And
crazy.
then he saw Chris Adams.
Phenomenal. Oh my god, I can't wait to watch Chris Adams. Man.
He's great. I love
Chris
it.
Adams is in this WCCW lore here, right?
He will show up in 1982. I
Woo.
believe.
We're only 2 episodes away, baby.
Two episodes out. Well, I believe he shows up in March or April.
Oh, okay. We're like 30 episodes out, but we'll find a way there.
Yeah, we'll see him eventually.
Well, of course, Bronco Lubitsch, right? That's the
Yes,
name.
Lubitsch.
Cool.
There you go.
Lubitsch. It's a German name or something. Some sort of European.
Yeah, who'd have thought Lubitsch, Von Erich, they all kind of run together.
Crazy. Where's Waldo when you need him, brother? Well, right off the bat, first move of the match, we don't get any hot dog and any grandstanding. We don't even get a collar and elbow or a Greco-Roman anything. Right off the bat, Kerry lifts up Harley Race, gorilla press. That's it. Okay.
Hey, straight to it. And of course, the big story going into this match on local TV, coming into the match, Kerry had put Harley in a sleeper hold and had actually put him to sleep on TV and pinned him in a non-title match, basically part of Gary Hart's big uncrowned world champion story that we would see up until the David Von Erich Memorial Show, in which he would win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship from Ric Flair. Which
Spoilers, bro. What the hell? I haven't even seen that, bro. What are you talking about? I didn't know that happened. Joking. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Continue. I apologize. I interrupted you. How dare I?
That was actually into my point, so you just take that over.
Well, I got you. Yeah, man. Kerry Von Erich, of course, with this whole, they're really running this whole underdog story with a guy that looks like $1 million and looks like he could murder, the entire roster, kind of. But it is what it is. We then go into, a bit of a scuffle, quick pinning attempt into the rope break really early on into the match. I noticed a lot of rope breaks throughout this entire show. They were very heavy on the rope break. I don't think it was overused. I don't think that it was unnecessary. It's just they focused on that rule a lot more than I feel like modern wrestling really does.
Definitely, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, we see it if you watch UFC, all the time. Guys are on the ground, they end up crawling to the cage, get a hand in the cage, and they break it up. They get your hand off the cage. Similar thing. Same thing in wrestling. When we set a rule like that, and that's the great thing about the rules is you can play them into your story as much as you want or don't want. And in this case, the rope break was something they were very high on at the time.
Well, you want to talk about massive storytelling here when Kerry Von Erich puts Harley in the sleeper. I didn't know the whole uncrowned champion bit until you and I had talked about it after watching the match separately. And so within that, we kind of have this whole, Kerry Von Erich, you're going to put him away with the sleeper again? I don't know. Well, no, he doesn't, because we get our second NWA rules spot of the night. Kerry Von Erich, or Harley Race, I guess, launches himself over the top rope. Kerry Von Erich tries to plead to the referee. Bronco Lubitsch is like, I got you, brother. I know you're not that guy. And also, I do not want to cause a riot, so I'm not going to DQ a Von Erich in Dallas. And we move on.
Right in the middle of Reunion Arena. You're disqualified. Chairs start flying.
That's probably the reason that David Manning didn't disqualify David Von Erich and Fritz. I get it. It makes sense. You got a wife, you got a kid, you got a family you got to look after. No, I understand.
20,000 people in Reunion Arena getting hot would not be a fun sight to see.
He just ruined the integrity of this great sport, James. I don't know. Good Lord. We get a claw spot. Kerry Von Erich trying to put the claw in on the outside. Somewhere along the line, Harley's gushing. I don't know where this came from.
I don't know where it came from, but what a sight with Kerry just putting the claw on and blood dripping from Harley's head. Then Kerry finally gets the sleeper hold on Harley, the move that he beat him with on TV. We know he can put the champ to sleep, but the champ, being smart, drags himself as he's losing consciousness through the middle and underneath the middle rope and falls to the outside, dragging Kerry with him. What a great save spot. He knows he's in trouble, so he's going to the outside to take advantage of that champion's advantage.
No, yeah, man, it was really smart, and that champion's advantage does come into play here at the very end. As I mean, we get some more brawling around. David Manning comes in as referee because Bronco Lubitsch dies on the outside.
He gets thrown to the outside.
Yeah, that was
by
brutal.
Harley, and then
Crazy Charlie style, baby. You know what I'm saying?
The Empire UWO fans are laughing at that one if you're in Oklahoma.
Crazy.
But nonetheless, he gets thrown out. Kerry tries to bring him back in. Harley knocks Kerry and Bronco back out to the floor. Kerry gets in. He gets in certain position. He's going to win. And there's no referee. There's at least a 10 count. Harley's knocked out. And here comes David Manning to the rescue.
Yep, David Manning comes in. He's now the referee. We get some more brawling all around. This is a bit of a longer match compared to a lot of the ones on the card. Finish really comes when Harley is on the apron, I guess on the north side of the ring. Running diving knee attempt to the outside. We can't see the collision because, again, we are stuck on one hard cam shot. But apparently he's going for this knee. Could have been a crossbody. Could have been a cannonball senton for all I knew. I couldn't see anything. And apparently, according to the announcer, he missed Kerry.
And all I can think about is Harley Race with no knee pads hitting the cement floor.
Bro, like everyone talks about like, oh, Cactus Jack went knees first into the steel steps in WCW. That's crazy. You know what else is crazy? Let's fall on concrete floor. Let's fall on marble floor, whatever this thing's made out of, with no knee pads on. And better yet, let's go knee first on it right now, James. Come on.
And that's why Jim Cornette said that Harley Race's knees felt like beanbags.
That's so brutal, man. I can't imagine that.
But what a finish here. Kerry Von Erich, he grabs the belt, he holds it high, the cameras flash, but the hometown hero is just short of capturing the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship.
After a 20 count, Harley Race does not make his way back in the ring. We get a double countout in 16 minutes and 31 seconds. And once again, David Manning strikes again, ruins the night. I mean, he damn near caused a riot by calling that double countout with this, but at least this is a much more, I guess, compared to the result of either David and Fritz Von Erich getting tossed out of a match or Kerry just happening to lose alongside Harley. You know what I mean? Like
everybody got their photo of Kerry holding the belt, and that's what made people feel good.
Exactly. What would you rate this match out of 5 stars?
It's Harley Race. The psychology is always going to be there. I'm going to give it a solid 4 out of 5.
Wow, this is going down in the annals of this podcast's history. I'm giving it a 2-star rating.
We've reached 2 people. We've reached 2. It took Harley Race,
Yeah.
the greatest wrestler on God's green earth.
Well, and here's the thing. I really feel, because like everyone talks about Kerry Von Erich being really good. I don't know if he was very good. He was really over.
Really over is probably the better description.
And
really over.
I think that he was really good from I think he had charisma. He had a lot of charisma. I think that his in-ring skill wasn't here.
He was not David in the ring.
That's
for sure.
That's true. And I think at a certain point he was starting to get that in-ring skill, and then you had later on down the line the accident that leaves you without a foot, changes the way you wrestle. It's just kind of the way it is. He just didn't have that skill here. Harley Race carrying him to like what was a really enjoyable match. I feel like it kind of went on a little long for my taste. It was a 16.5-minute match. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy those otherwise, but you put Flair in there with Harley Race, 16 minutes feels like 4 minutes, and you're wondering why the match just ended. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I feel like the sign of a match that goes too long is one where I'm checking my watch, I'm checking my clock, I'm like, man, what's gonna give here? You know what I mean? So in the 2-star match rating does not mean it was bad whatsoever. Like it's probably one of my favorite matches on this card. So.
Without a doubt. And then the next match for some tag titles. We never get an official name here. At one point we hear NWA.
Yes.
At one point we hear World Class Wrestling Association.
Mm-hmm. Which I didn't even know that they were going by World Class Wrestling Association at this point.
I was not aware of that either. I was not aware of that until the
split, right?
From the NWA.
Because the World Class Wrestling Association was supposed to be the NWA-like governing body. Right?
Exactly. And so, but then the ring announcements and the announcer through most of the match just refers to them as the World Tag Team titles, which is represented by a trophy, not belts.
Phenomenal. Well,
It's a cool look. I mean, there were it's like the World Tag League in all Japan. They have
Yes.
the trophy for the winners, so I get it.
I will say the NWA World Tag Team titles are listed as the titles that were on the line according to Wikipedia. Not sure if that's actually.
But there weren't like a national tag team titles like there were, with the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
It might have been like NWA World Tag Team title, parentheses,
in
Texas version,
yeah.
something like that. But I get what you're saying.
But yeah, we don't get clarification on that, but it's for a trophy and proclaimed as a tag title match of some sort.
Well, I'll tell you this much. We get our 160p horrible frame rate footage of Kevin Von Erich and David Von Erich coming out to ringside. Incredibly massive pop. These guys are over like Rover in this arena here tonight. And then we get Hercules Ayala, Hercules Ayala, and Ali Mustafa. Got to be honest with you, did not know the difference between the two throughout the entire match, and the announcer didn't exactly help with that because I feel like there were a couple points he got them confused as well.
I believe he did. There were a couple of times where the longer, bushier-haired Hercules Ayala was called Ali Mustafa and vice versa. But, as I said, I'd heard of Hercules Ayala from his work in Puerto Rico, but this is my first time seeing him in the U.S., so apparently holding these tag belts from who knows where.
Yeah, one of these tag belts that came from somewhere. And they're not even belts. It is one trophy, and they hold the trophy together, and that is that. At the beginning of the match, the entire ring surrounded by the Von Erichites. They're here. You notice that the faces tend to go, I guess if you're looking at the screen, it's like the bottom left corner of the screen. And I feel like that's just because it's the easiest place for fans to get to. So when Fritz was out there, the bottom left corner of the screen is where Fritz went to because you're looking at this four-sided ring. And, of course, there's fans just surrounding this entire bottom left side. But then David and Kevin come out, and you get the bottom left side surrounded, the bottom surrounded, the bottom right side. People are up all the way by Hercules Ayala and Ali Mustafa trying to get signatures and everything else from Kevin and David. I mean, that's that's the dream, right? That's what you want out of your wrestling career.
It seemed like about 25% of North Texas was at ringside at the start of this match. I mean, it was a wall of people. It does not get more over than the Von Erichs in Dallas.
Yeah, 100%. James, what are your thoughts on this matchup overall?
I mean, it was a solid tag match. I mean, Hercules Ayala and Ali Mustafa just beat down the Von Erichs for most of this match, and they were just selling like crazy, so that when they finally team up and make that huge comeback, that crowd is going bananas with them. And, of course, they pick up the big victory to win these tag title trophy belts.
I will call this the NWA World Tag Team Trophy. It is what it is. Kevin Von Erich and David Von Erich defeat Hercules Ayala and Ali Mustafa, sending them back to where did Hercules Ayala typically work?
From Puerto Rico and wherever Ali Mustafa hails from.
That makes sense to me. What are you rating this match, brother?
It was a good tag match. Again, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Nothing outstanding, but it was just solid and told a good story.
Your rating lowers for this match. My rating ups for this match 2.5 stars. We're slowly climbing up. By next week, we'll be having 5-star bangers every single time. It's gonna be incredible. But yeah,
you're gonna be the new Meltzer. 7 stars, 8 stars, 9 stars.
8.5. It was in the Tokyo Dome, baby. Now the Sportatorium. All right, that might raise it more than the Tokyo Dome, more than Korakuen Hall. But either way, no, I think this match did exactly what it needed to do. Kevin Von Erich and David Von Erich got their shine. Hercules got his heat. Ali got his heat. They did everything that they could, you know what I'm saying? And I don't really know, honestly, what sets this match apart from the other matches on the card other than the fact that I was more entertained. And I feel like because I am so used to this indie-rific style of wrestling that I've come to love today, you put more bodies on the screen for me to pay attention to. you get more action. You get you have more things to
You're
focus
just
on.
looking for the train wreck. That's all you're watching for.
It's like that ADHD brain sort of thing, man. Like you're like, well, they're just walking around each other. Oh, what are they doing over here? You know what I mean?
Need your Adderall today.
I'm out of Adderall, but I don't have any. Of course, I just want to point out, by the way, I talked at length on the last episode of the podcast, the first episode, how excited I was to see what I assumed was a very racially charged gimmick in Chang Chung. And if any of our viewers have any information on Chang Chung, I'm going to need you to send it our way, worldclassTVreview@gmail.com. Send us something. We'll read it. Trust me, we're Jim Cornette. Well, Charlie from Starkville is going to send us something, and we're going to read it live on air because I need to know something about Chang Chung here, James. We didn't even get to see this match. It was the apparent dark match, or at least it wasn't on the Peacock tapes.
Chang Chung apparently defeating Bruiser Brody. I don't know how this happens. I don't know. How do you convince Bruiser Brody, we're going to beat you with Chang Chung?
I just assumed that Brody went over constantly in Texas unless they told him we're putting the belt on you soon, so we're going to have to, the chase is important, whatever it was, and even then, I don't know.
But we didn't have to worry about that long because the main event of our Peacock special here...
Oh, my God. This was not good.
It was the $5,000 Battle Royal, and I think our unnamed, slightly confused announcer said it best when he said, "There's really not much you can say unless you see it." Well, and it's a Battle Royal. They also include pinfalls and submissions.
Yes, that was interesting.
We don't see any submissions, but we see a lot of dog pile pins.
Yeah, which honestly I think is great psychology.
It's a great strategy.
I've never thought about that, So I've never seen a battle royal or anything like that had any sort of pinfall or submission variation. I think AEW just recently did something kind of similar to that. Got to be honest with you, I have not watched it yet. Plan on doing so soon. Shout out my boy Brody King. But I got to tell you, I was picturing well, you have one dude having another dude in a lateral press hooking the leg. Meanwhile, you have 15 other guys surrounding. Aren't we going to be tripping over each other? But whenever we have 8 guys dogpiling on one dude, that makes it a lot easier to have that stipulation in the match. And I thought it was really great. We have, of course, as James said, what they labeled it as a Texas Battle Royal. I will addend that with the Texas Battle Royal with Oklahoma booking because we are here. This is everyone that was on the card and probably everyone that was supposed to be on the card, and then they said, "Brother, we ain't got enough to pay you. We can only put you on the Battle Royal. Chief White Cloud, Don Sutton, Brian Blair, you're all working free tonight, brother. Sorry to disappoint." And, of course, there are no unions in wrestling, so there is nothing we could do about that. This match featured – I expected it to – so, I'm sorry. The cage match had this match listed as featuring pretty much everyone on the card: David Von Erich, Hercules Ayala, Fritz Von Erich, Kabuki. None of these guys were in this match. Instead, you get some incredible characters such as Jose Lothario, Jesse Barr, Chief White Cloud, Don Sutton, Brian Blair.
Addressed as Lawman Brian Blair for whatever reason. Apparently he's stealing Don Slatton's gimmick.
Phenomenal. Well, as the announcer said earlier, he looks like he'd either be a banker or a lawyer. This guy only looks like he could be a lawman or a criminal. There's no in between, apparently. Bruiser Brody, Mr. Chang Chung, Ali Mustafa, Hercules Ayala, and Tim Brooks in the $5,000 Battle Royal. I got to tell you, I love the idea of this match. Just being something where they're like, "Oh, we need one more match for the card." I mean, you've been around booking meetings. "Oh, we need one more match for the card. What are we gonna do? All right, Battle Royal. Well, what's the stakes? Money, baby. $5,000. I think we should start doing that more. The places we run that just have random Battle Royals. Why not, man?
Just attach a dollar amount. It doesn't need to be much. The $250 Battle Royal.
No, I think that we should totally, we should be like, oh, it's $1 million battle royal. And then the fans are like, how do they have $1 million and they're running in this building? What's going on?
How about the hot dog and handshake battle
The
royal?
hot dog handshake battle royal
Oh, wait,
memorial tournament cup.
The hot dog and a handshake invitational battle royal.
That's
because make it sound
phenomenal.
important. We're inviting people to take part in this and
Yeah.
get paid a hot dog and a handshake.
I think that's actually phenomenal. That means you have to deny the boys their hot dogs and handshakes if they don't win. So, I don't know. It might cause heat in the locker room, but I don't know if that could work.
But nonetheless, back to the matter at hand as we proceed to just divulge into madness. Bruiser Brody
It's
gets
midnight, okay? I can't do this much longer. I just watched a world-class show that I was promised Chang Chung, and I didn't get Chang Chung, James. So I don't know.
He gets eliminated quickly, but
Chang Chung, yeah.
But Bruiser Brody gets his win back because he ain't doing 2 jobs in one night. You best believe that.
This match was nothing important, nothing cool. Did you know Jesse Barr got eliminated by pinfall? Who gives a damn is what I say. Who did Jesse Barr ever beat? Jesse Barr never drew a dime, all right? That's all I have to say. I don't know anything about Jesse Barr. I'm sure he's a lovely individual, but
I was about to say, I'm like, the whole Barr family is going to have heat with you now. They're going to be like, we raised some fine wrestlers.
I'm sure he did. I'm not familiar with him. So either way, Bruiser Brody.
We must introduce you to Jesse and Art, and that's our next project. We're watching Portland territory.
We're watching Art Barr. Oh, I'd love to watch me some Art Barr. Bruiser Brody eliminates 2 people at the end of the match. Who were they? Couldn't tell you. Bruiser Brody eliminates them, wins a cool $5,000. I wish that we would have had kind of the, the Andre the Giant, Big John Studd spot where they had the money in the bag and you rip it open and blah, 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 and he starts tossing cash into the air. Well, we didn't get that here tonight, but what you do have is a half-star match. This match was not worthy of being a main event at all.
Well, and it wasn't apparently at the live show, but at least in this that tape that was aired, it was our highlight of the night, and it wasn't good.
This blows my mind. Who is editing a wrestling show? And even if you have to rework matches in the order of these matches and stuff, that's fine. That you sit here and go, oh, well, we got to send the audience home happy so they tune in next week. Oh, we got to leave them on a cliffhanger. Better let Bruiser Brody bury everyone in a battle royal to make sure everyone comes back. I know we just had one of our greatest tag teams in the company go over for the world tag titles in some world that is
the World Tag Cup.
Yeah, the World Tag League was just won by the Von Erichs, but we couldn't put that on in the main, despite that being 10 times as great of a match as this was.
Definitely some questionable decision making there. On a overall decent card, I'd give it a thumbs up. I mean, there was nothing
for as
god
much
awful,
as much
even the tag match.
Yeah, you're right.
The battle royal.
You're
excuse
right.
me.
As much negativity as my only negativity really toward the battle royal, by the way, is it should have been anywhere else on the card. You know what I mean? I really do think opener, sure, I'm down for an opening battle royal. I don't think that main event battle royal deserved to be there. Nevertheless, I mean, for as much negativity as I may have about this show, I didn't see any topes. I didn't see any super kicks. It's like I was watching a Control Your Narrative event. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to handle myself. So, despite all of that, I think it was a really decent show. I think it was a fine introduction to me, or for me, for world-class championship wrestling. I think that once I become more acclimated with heel-face dynamics, if we ever get stories in this company. I know of a couple big stories they do.
We will when we get to TV.
Yeah, exactly. And I think soon as I kind of get to learn more people's backstories. Whenever we get into 1982, 1983, I want to be able to think, well, 5 months ago, I just watched world-class TV, and I remember this story, and so that's why this makes sense, and the long-term storytelling aspects come into play. Overall, I give it a good rating. C- is average and good for the way I felt. Matches individual by individual match, I was kind of negative. Overall, as a show package, I actually did enjoy it. I don't know how that makes sense, but it does.
You're just a miserable man, Walker. That's the secret. You just want to be miserable all the time.
Maybe that's why I'm happy, because it's over. Maybe that's why.
It was a great card, though. I enjoyed it. Even, as I say, even the Battle Royal, at least it was over quickly.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
they spared us a 20, 30-minute Battle Royal. But I really enjoyed the story in the Fritz Kabuki match, and then the tag match had just great basic tag team wrestling. I mean, what more could you want? So, overall, as I said, thumbs up, B minus pay-per-view.
Yeah, I guess it technically. Well, it wasn't on pay-per-view.
It was not
right?
on pay-per-view. This was
Special.
This would be
premium
like
live event, James. We're going. This is future forward branding.
We are on the cock, so
We are on the cock. I would like to get off the cock, but sadly, we are still on the cock for the next show, and we're going to tell you all about that next show. We're going to break down match by match. Now, as we found out in this show,
and if anybody has some WCCW tapes they would like to mail to us, send us an email.
you Google Drive them to us if you really wanted to. Just give us time to download them, please, so we don't waste $50 again.
worldclasstvreview@gmail.com if you've got any of those. Shameless plug.
Yes, of course. And also send in your questions. Send in your hate mail. I want you to tell me that my wrestling opinions are wrong. So that way I can say Tope, Super Kick, Canadian Destroyer, 1, 2, 3. You know what? I could tap someone out with a Canadian Destroyer if I found a way. And I'll do it, James. Don't think I won't. We're in the business. We'll find a way. Someone will let me, a wrestling commentator with no experience and no training, get in the ring and find a way to tap a dude out with it's like Cody pinning a dude with the figure 4. How does that work? Why are you able to do that? That's what I'm going to do with the Canadian Destroyer.
And somebody will sadly book it. But give us a look forward to what we've got coming up on Christmas Star Wars, because apparently the October 81 Star Wars show just does not exist on Peacock.
Well, I'll tell you what you do have to look forward to on Christmas Star Wars. It's me time traveling to go find Tiny Tom in Little Tokyo and tapping him out with the Canadian Destroyer. And that is going to be, I'm going to win the Best Wrestling Move Award in the 1982 Wrestling Observer newsletter. It's going to be crazy. Now, of course, next show, it's actually titled NWA Big Time Christmas Star Wars. Of course, Big Time Wrestling being Fritz Von Erich's, I guess the old name for the promotion that it was then, World Class Championship Wrestling. We start off this card with probably the most underrated match I will ever watch on this card. El Negro Assassin taking on Dick Blood, James.
Richard Blood, not that one, not Ricky Steamboat.
No, not wrong. You got excited for a second. You heard Dick Blood. Got excited, you little freak. No, it's Richard Blood, a completely different person.
Nonetheless.
Richard Blood taking on El Negro Assassin.
Nonetheless.
Oh my God.
Richard Blood taking on El Negro Asesino. And then we have, you mentioned him earlier, a special midget match with Tiny Tom taking on Little Tokyo.
So was this a period of time, did World Class respect this style of wrestling, quote unquote, or am I going to sit through the most insensitive 5 minutes of my life with Tiny Tom and Little Tokyo?
It's midget wrestling in the 80s, brother. I don't know what else I can tell you.
Oh, no.
Then we've got an NWA Texas Brass Knuckles Championship. We have Jose Lothario challenging the Big Cat Only Lad, the champion, the Brass Knuckles champion, walking into that match, Ernie Ladd. Then we've got a tag team match with Arman Hussein and Carlos Zapata taking on the team of Alberto Madril and Blue Demon. That should be one to see. The UWA World Junior Light Heavyweight Championship is on the line from UWA down in Mexico. El Solitario defending against Killer Tim Brooks, a man we talked about earlier today.
I have a problem here. First, I have 2 problems here. All right, I have 3 problems. No, I have 2. You wasn't enough to put Junior Heavyweight Championship. Wasn't enough to put light heavyweight championship. This is a junior light heavyweight title. Explain that to me. Is that a double negative? Is this actually a super heavyweight title? Is that what we're getting at here?
Two negatives might, in fact, equal a positive.
Well, if that's the case, then maybe that's why Tim Brooks qualifies for this match. But I did not look at Tim Brooks in that last episode we watched and go, oh, but that's a cruiserweight right there. But I don't know why he's working Mascaras. I mean, I know he was working that lucha style with him. But
light heavyweight used to start at used to be below 225. So
Lord. I still don't think that's true, but okay. And then, sorry to steal your thunder, brother, but I got to be the one to tell you. It's the Texas Death Match, baby. It is the Great Kabuki in the blow-off with Fritz Von Erich. That is going to be something. I mean, I don't see Fritz Von Erich like Ric Flair style bleeding all over the place, but I've never seen the match, and I don't know much about it going in other than what we watched of them today, so going to be interesting, right?
The Amarillo, Texas match favorite has made its way to Dallas, the Texas Death Match. The Great Kabuki faces off with Fritz Von Erich one last time in Reunion Arena. I look forward to seeing that on our next episode. Then we've got, this
is the most cracked out match I have seen.
This is going to be interesting.
It'll only be 2 episodes in, and I'm already calling it the most cracked out match. 2-ring 6-man tag action. The Von Erichs, and that's David, Kevin, and Kerry, take on Bill Irwin, Frank Dusek, and Tengu. Is it Tengu?
Tengu.
Wow. I'm not familiar with Tengu.
I am not familiar with Tengu's run. Of course, we have seen... we saw Frank Dusek, I believe, in that Battle Royal, and then
did we?
Possibly.
Okay, yeah.
And then Bill Irwin, better known as the Goon to most fans in the WWF.
Big Goon guy. Yeah.
This is what happens when you tell Vince McMahon you played hockey when you were growing up. You become the Goon.
Yeah. They almost gave that gimmick to Jericho. Did you know that?
Oh my God.
They go, "You're Canadian." Well, listen here, pal.
Your father played hockey.
Oh, my God.
Ted.
I just don't know. I mean, if there's any match out of this card that I think is going to feel like that indie-rific super style match I want to watch, it might be this one, because it sounds like we're going to basically be having 2 matches in 2 different rings, and it's just going to be one of the Von Erichs and one member of the other team, one of the Von Erichs and one of the other members of the other team, 2 separate rings. You know what I mean? But I don't know what to expect there.
It's going to be interesting to see, and then, of course, since you've got 2 rings set up, you might as well have a 14-man 2-ring $10,000 battle royal.
Wow, you might as well, right?
It was $5,000 for 1 ring.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have a 2-ring battle royal, it only makes sense that you have $10,000.
I'm pretty certain that there were at least 14 men in the battle royal we reviewed earlier, and they said this wasn't enough. Too many complaints to HR. We're bringing in a 2nd ring, and of course we're up in the prize pool just because we can. Of course, I guess it's not going to be too far off until we get that $1 million battle royal I was talking about. Ted DiBiase is going to make his debut. It's going to be crazy. We're going to love to see it.
The Ted DiBiase Memorial Battle Royal worth $1 million. That's what we're going to do. We're paying tribute to DiBiase.
Wow, that's awesome. So that is what you can look forward to on World Class Championship Wrestling's NWA Big Time Christmas Star Wars 1981 on Christmas Day, December 25th in 1981. What were you doing in 1981?
I was
all right. Well, we're out of time.
Born.
We're out of time. You were 20 years from being born. Yeah, I guess that's true. 2001, right? 2000.
Yeah.
Which one was it? 2001.
2001. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're talking. This is the problem here. All right, I am expecting Ring of Honor pure style matches from a company that came around about 26 years before Ring of Honor, and really longer than that, the 50 years before. Either way, I'm really excited for where we're going to go. This was a really fun thing to record. James, I am very happy that you decided to join me on this episode of the World Class Television Review Podcast. I mean, of course you joined me because we are doing this together, but, you know.
It's a pleasure to be joining you. We're going to have some fun. The journey has only begun onward to Christmas. Are we going to be singing Christmas carols next episode, Walker?
I'm sure we could find at least one. Oh, is that the Patreon content, baby?
That's some Patreon content right there.
That might be OnlyFans content. I don't know. Like, that's
Oh,
real extreme.
hey.
You got to pay for this voice. You know what I mean?
Hey,
Listen up, promoters. You got to pay for these voices, okay?
Hey, world-class TV review OnlyFans coming soon.
Woo! Of course, if you want us to read your reviews live on the podcast, give us a 5-star review. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, whatever you want. It can be any form of podcasting platform. Of course, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WCCW Pod Review. Or is it, I butchered it again, James, God. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Fuck me. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WCCW Review Pod. I finally managed to say it. Same tag on Facebook. WCCW Review Pod should be in the description or the bio section of whatever you are listening to us on right now. Of course, any podcast platform. Well, James, do you have anything that you want to say?
Take me back to Texas when I die.